Wow, I have no idea what to say about this game. The Legend of Zelda is my favorite video game franchise of all time, and now suddenly they've changed everything that the previous games have built upon and totally nailing it. It is an amazing time being a Zelda fan. So I have played this game for, I want to say about over 100 hours, with just one save. I haven't gotten to replay the story, as this game truly never stops giving you stuff to do. So let's talk about that. The narrative of the game, because if there's one thing we all know a Zelda game will have, it is a good story. I think it's important to say before we head into the narrative of the game that this is the first Zelda game in a very long time where the gameplay is the focus and not the story. So the thing is, right after you've gone through the tutorial level, if you will, the tutorial area, you can go straight to the final boss of the game. You'll die for sure, that's a definite, like, you will die, but how many games in this day and age allows the player to actually just go straight to the final boss? So, because of that, the story feels very weak. But not for the reasons that you may think. The game starts by showing us Link waking up from some sort of waterbed by a voice. Yes, Breath of the Wild has voice acting.
Bomb some dodongos!
And he soon figures out that he has been asleep for 100 years, and that the being known as Calamity Ganon has made a ruin of Hyrule, and soon the entire world, unless our hero stops him. So that's pretty much the story handed to you. The first main objective you get is destroy Ganon. But what really makes the story interesting, and trust me when I say it, it is interesting, are the two other objectives that you get that you are supposed to do before heading into the final battle. Without spoiling too much, Link can regain his lost memories of what happened 1 century ago, and also figure out how to weaken Ganon to the extreme. And these 2 points are why I really like the world of this game. The side characters, the champions, Link, and how the world perceives him. Because this is one huge world to explore, and this Zelda game is definitely the most immersive one. So why am I so in love with this world? Well, first I want to say that it is typical for Zelda to usually have only one secondary character next to the Trinity that gets some development to them, as everyone else serves as nothing more than an object to move the plot forward. But here we get the champions, Revali, Daruk, Urbosa and Mipha, and also some other friends, Teba, Riju, Yunobo and Sidon, the fish husbando. All of these I like, but the champions are definitely the best out of the characters in this game, plus they have their own emotion-filled theme songs.
Impressive, I know. Very few can achieve a mastery of the sky. Yet I have made an art of creating an updraft that allows me to soar. It's considered to be quite the masterpiece of aerial techniques, even among the Rito.
So I like the characters, but I will have to say that the story is weaker than the previous Zeldas, and that's because it feels like the story's already happened. The thing is that the plot moves forward as if it is the final third of a movie. It's a build-up to the final boss, that's all it is. It lacks the beginning and the middle part of the story. And when looking at the memory, when you're collecting your memories and you see what happened before Link fell asleep, that's really interesting. That's where you will see people readying up for the inevitable return of Calamity Ganon. And sadly, this is also where you will see most of the champions. Which I'm really sad about, because I love them. I really do. So the story is interesting, but the world of Breath of the Wild is where the most fascination lies, because the narrative is weak. So if it is that weak, why do I think that it deserves a 10 out of 10 then? The gameplay is legendary. Over 100 hours and I still find new stuff. I can't think of any games that have done this for me before. I swear, when I was on the 80-hour mark and I thought of starting a new game, I found a village that I've never seen before, that holds several quests, character shrines and more. But let's talk about what we can do in this game and what you will do. First of all, combat. This game starts out really hard. Some enemies will one-hit kill you. Weak weapons will fill your inventory, mediocre armor, lack of food, and no hand-holding. This game doesn't tell you anything. The only thing it will help you with is to tell the player what shrines are and what the main objective is. Gone are the hours-long tutorials, and in is the open world of Hyrule. When you start the game, you will begin in the tutorial area, the Great Plateau. However, how you go on to finish that place is entirely up to you. And after that place, you can do whatever you want. So the previously mentioned shrines are all over the world, and they are pretty much mini puzzles that will give Link a spirit orb, and after collecting 4, he can use them to either get more health or stamina. And that has returned from Skyward Sword, the stamina meter. Now, I will admit you'll start off with pretty much no stamina, just 1 wheel. But considering that you can climb every surface in this game, with, you know, a few exceptions, I do feel it is needed here, as if it was not, you would be able to climb through every single puzzle. There are over 100 shrines in this game, and I haven't seen one mirroring another. Another thing you can find everywhere are side quests that can range all from defeat a mighty monster by the Rallis Lake to do you have a baked apple? And where can I find a baked apple, you probably won't ask? Well, there is a cooking system in this game that you have to get used to. In this game you can't find hearts by cutting down grass or killing monsters. You will actually have to either sleep in a bed at an inn or something like that, or cook food. Now, cooking in this game is really simple. You will have to use ingredients, of course, which you can find all over the world, from hunting for beasts to get their meat, look for mushrooms, fish, stuff like that. And then you can find a cooking spot. You need fire, and there's a cooking pot usually, or you'll actually need it if you want to have good meals. You have to take ingredients together. They can be up to 5, and they will come out rather nice. There are plenty of meals in this game. I doubt I haven't seen half of them. And they can have special properties, or buffs if you will, that can give you protection, more damage, more speed, more stamina, more hearts, you know, over your limit that you already have, and even stealth, because there's actually stealth in this game. It's not the deepest system, but it's there, and protection from temperature and the weather. I'm the kind of guy who adds mods in Skyrim to make everything immersive, and that includes weather effect and temperature. And seeing that Breath of the Wild has this makes me so happy, as Hyrule have some dangerous places, if ill-prepared. The Gerudo Desert is so hot that you need to have some clothes that wards off the sun, yet the night brings a cold chill in the sand that can harm you. Death Mountain brings just that, death, if you do not have the right protective gear or elixirs to keep you cool. The snowy mountains will freeze you without tons of clothes, etc. And I love it! As the game does not hold your hand, when I found out that the shade of the desert will cool you off, or that being close to a fireplace will warm you from the snow, I felt so smart, I felt brilliant! And that is something that this game gets a major thumbs up for. It rewards creativity and smart thinking. Because there's a wonderful physics engine here that allows you to try out different stuff, which I will not show off, as I want everyone to try out different stuff themselves. Hyrule is the player's playground. You can cut down a tree with an axe and use the log to walk over a cliff, or you could push it down a slope onto some enemies to kill them, to make the battle simpler, because again, enemies in this game are rather powerful. Or you can use your Sheikah Slate and pull up a metallic object, or from a big ass metallic door or a metallic ball, whatever, and squeeze it and slam it against an enemy. Oh yes, the Sheikah Slate. I forgot to talk about that. So the Sheikah Slate is what you have instead of the typical items that you collect in the previous Zelda games. And you get all of the new abilities at the tutorial area. Create an ice pillar on some water that you can climb, lift metal objects, throw bombs, and take awesome pictures. But if you do not get new items in the main dungeons in this game, how do they work then? Every Zelda game has had the typical way of letting you in the Puzzle Galore castle, where the new item opens up every door. But what about now? Well, the dungeons are much more similar than before. More than I actually would have liked. How you get to the dungeons are amazing, but inside they are actually all quite similar, aside from their main mechanic on how you can change them by using the Sheikah Slate. Some other things that might be a bit similar, much to my dismay, are the bosses in the main dungeons. What I like about them is that they're not the typical Zelda stuff that you have to look for the big weak point, a big eye, and shoot it with a bow and arrow and then start hitting them. You can actually go directly in as if they're an enemy, and you know, they're really powerful, they're fast, and etc. But they're design-wise, meh. And this brings me to the biggest negative that I have when it comes to stuff like this. And it's a really big one, actually. The final boss is disappointing. It's really anticlimactic. And considering that the game is just a build-up to this fight, I don't want to spoil too much, but the thing is that the bosses in the main dungeons, they make sense why they are there. not so much when it comes to the final boss. And I know it's difficult to live up to what Ganondorf has done in the past. The memorable Ocarina of Time fight. The epic showdown with Ganondorf in Wind Waker. And the legendary finale of Twilight Princess. But here it just feels meh. Use everything you've learned in the past to defeat it, but yeah, it's a bit disappointing. But the thing is that the journey is more important than the destination. And there are some negatives in the journey as well, in the gameplay department. I'm sorry, but I hate the durability system. I get why it's there, but having every weapon smash into a million pieces after working hard to get it, it's a horrible feeling. Yes, I know that the late game weapons are more durable, but it is not fun seeing the weapon you really care about just break and seeing that notification. Again, having it here is understandable. Having to plan out every encounter, making sure to try out every type of weapon or shield or bow, etc. But there are two things that could have made me more okay with it. One, have a blacksmith in some town that could repair broken weapons rather than having them completely disappear after use. Just make them unusable until fixed. And two, and this is mostly a personal negative of mine, why do the lore weapons break? Where the information state that they were used by some mighty warriors and then they just get destroyed? And the thing is, you can repair these lore weapons. Not repair, rebuild. And having them being completely new, rebuild items and still have the information that this badass warrior of old used it when it's not really the same, it just breaks the immersion and I hate it. So yeah, so much for that personal bond with that trident. So those are my 3 biggest gripes with this game. The story is a bit weak, where everything that happened a century ago seems way more interesting and fascinating than what's happening at the moment. Calamity Ganon is just disappointing, is a disappointment, and again, the story is a build-up to that fight. So that's a big of a negative there. The brittle weapons, shields and bows, etc. The thing is, I love to immerse myself into a world, and when I get the weapon of a character that I really, like, it just disappears, it breaks, and you have to rebuild it, and it's still considered that was the weapon that person used. It just really hits me hard. I don't really like that at all. So how can I still think that this deserves a 10 out of 10 that it gets everywhere? It's because the positives just majorly overshadows the negatives. They're just nullified. There's so much I haven't even gotten to talk about, like the presentation of the game. The music is amazing as always. They've changed up it here as well, not having upbeat scores when you traverse the world, but it has more of that immersive Elder Scrolls kind of way feeling, only with the Zelda style, of course. There obviously are more quick-based themes when you come to bosses, characters, etc., but they are lower key than that of the Twilight Princess ones. Plus again, the themes for the champions truly are great, and they are their own motifs throughout the game. The graphics are okay, but the art style makes it like Wind Waker. I'm certain that this game will truly look good in the future as well, as Twilight Princess, didn't. Seriously though, there are times where it truly can get beautiful. Just look at the horizon now and then. I swear. The only thing about the presentation I'm a bit iffy about are the voice acting. Most of them are serviceable, but surprisingly Zelda's voice isn't good. I mean, I like the voice, but the acting is pretty bad. Just saying. There are many things I want to talk about when it comes to this game. Finding horses and catching them as your own, and renaming them and the differences between them. Random events that you can find out in Hyrule, from ambushes to assassins to helping the regular people. This is a game that needs to be explored without a guide. You can't use a guide, you can't watch Let's Plays of it if you're planning on playing it yourself. This deserves to be played blind. 100%. Thing is, I have never given a 10 out of 10 before on my review show, if we can call it that. And I really want to do it at least once. And I do feel like Breath of the Wild deserves it. So, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild gets a 10 out of 10. It's an amazing game. There is no such thing as a perfect game. Every game will have its negatives, every game will have its faults, but the thing is that the positives just majorly outweighs the negatives so much that I do 100% believe in my heart that this game is a perfect game. Nintendo said that they will make DLC for this game, and I'm really excited about that, considering that they will bring in a new story portion as well. Really hope that it has something to do with the champions, please. But until then, until next time, I'm KingJGrim or KingJGrim, whatever you prefer, and I'll see you guys next time. I will admit though, just one final point. Please let me rename Link in the next Zelda.
Duke Onkled is under attack by the evil forces of Ganon.